Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen, and all in between, and welcome back to part 14 of the Inquisitor path through the life and suffering of Sir Brante. Before we start, I just want to talk about the decision we made in the last video where we decided to choose the Inquisition's power over tolerance of faith. I was kind of running out of time, and I wanted to make the point that although we are aiming for between 7 and 9 for the power of the new faith, we're also not allowing heresy, and the La Tarli society was heretical. That's partly why I made that decision. Also, just for the fact that we were able to get 1 reputation and 1 wealth, which is fantastic. Like, I'm doing better in this playthrough for my family than I am for my noble character. And if you remember, we need to have, I think it's 8 reputation to be ennobled by the sword, and we're quite close to that. So it's possible we might get this, which I would be delighted with. I mean, I'd love to get favoured by the overseer, but that's a bit more. We won't be able to do that because I don't have glorious bloodline or a family of means, which is 10 wealth, which I just cannot get, or glorious bloodline of reputation equaling 10, which I don't think we'll be able to get either. But we're doing well as it is. If I can do that as well as save my mother, with Unity 8, that's my side goals. They're not my main goals. If I don't get them, I don't get them. The main goal here is just to be a supporter of the new faith, but if I can get Unity to 8, that's even more better. So ennoble by the sword and saving our mother is our 2 tasks for this. So without further ado, let's jump straight in. It's year 1139, chapter 4, An Old Friend. Night is falling over Anisot. The stifling heat gives way to an eagerly anticipated freshness. After a day at work, you stroll home at a leisurely pace. You turn down a side street that you have known since you were a little boy. It is as if your legs are acting on their own accord, bringing you to the place of your childhood play, the remnants of the wooden fort. So much has changed since the days when you used to play here with your little friends. Engrossed in your memories, at first you fail to notice that you are not alone here. A tall figure in the uniform of a Legion officer approaches you. You see unruly brown hair and a twinkle in his eye. It is Tomas. Now that's a surprise. Aye, Brante. Fancy running into you the moment I'm back in town. Your childhood friend puts his arms around you. Our battalion got transferred here recently. We're under the command of the Magra Legion now. I'm keeping the peace and maintaining order in my very own province. Well, why don't we catch up? Let me buy you dinner. We'll have a little chat. Remember the old days? Tomas cuts himself short. You suddenly notice how much older he looks. His face has become sharper and rougher, and his eyes are filled with exhaustion rather than their usual mischievous sparkle. I should warn you though, Jordan, I ain't the best company nowadays. I've managed to get myself some powerful enemies already. I'm a friend who could taint your good name, so if you'd rather not be seen with me, well, I understand. Oh, he's going to affect our reputation. Oh dear. I mean, I reckon we could afford it, and we still have opportunities to get reputation to 8, but I don't know. I mean, we did sign a friendship with him. The smile on his face starts to fade. Oh, I actually can't even walk away, funny enough. Because of the Path of the Noble, so our only option is to have dinner with him, which will bring our reputation down. Willpower up, which is good though, and Tomas will like us again. So we're having dinner with Tomas regardless. We don't even get a choice. And he is our friend. I probably would have made that decision anyway, to be honest, but it is a pain for reputation. You give Tomas your hand. You shake hands firmly. So you haven't forgotten your old friend, Brante. That's the way it ought to be. Well, come on then. This background music just invokes sadness in me as well and makes you don't want to rely on our friendship. You go to a tavern, reminiscing about your childhood antics on these very streets along the way. You choose a table in the far corner of the tavern. Tomas orders a bottle of good wine and some food. You talk about your latest case, about your first years back in Anisot. You share family news, your quest to become nobles of the sword, and quarrels between your elder brother and sister, your mother's health. Tomas nods with concern. Sounds like you've had some tough times. Your family has always been different. Mine, on the other hand, is the same as it ever was. My pa's always in his workshop and my ma's always doing chores. But look at me, I came home a self-class nobleman, although it doesn't bring me much joy anymore. Tomas is suddenly grim. You ask your friend to share his troubles with you. He quickly glances around the room and lowers his voice. Well, I'm the captain in the Maglan Legion now, and who's our commander? His Excellency Doris Otten. That's right, I serve under the very same Archnian whose toes I stepped on back in Eterna, and you better believe he remembers me. I'm afraid this is going to end real bad. But hey, I'll figure it out somehow. Don't trouble yourself over it. Apart from that, well, it's the usual service. We impose order in uppity towns and villages, protect the province, that sort of thing. And we run drills all day long, obviously. If only you knew how sick I am with the barracks, Jordan. I've thought about starting a family. My ma keeps telling me to find a nice girl to marry. She said it's high time I got hitched. It is completely dark and you are still talking. Finally, Tomas remembers that his parents are waiting for him. You get up from the table, leaving some dirty dishes and quite a few empty bottles behind. On your way out, you catch a glimpse of a nondescript figure following you to the door. As you walk alongside Tomas through the whole neighborhood, you keep glancing over your shoulder, but the shadow that was following you has disappeared. You reach your street and stop for a while in the semi-darkness between your family homes, just as you used to all those years ago. Boy, Brante, I hardly ever come to Anizot these days. Our battalion is always on the march all over the province, but twins willing, we'll see each other again real soon. At least Tomas likes us. You advise your friend to safeguard his every life, but he brought us down, which is a real shame. But willpower's gone up, which is great, so we're ready for action. I think it's a worthy risk of reputation. We've had a few opportunities already to increase our reputation. I reckon we'll have at least 3 more. In the shadow of the tree. As the Archduke and Overseer fight for power in Magla, the common people bear the brunt of their conflict. Incensed speeches begin to fill the city. The temple by the white tree seems to be the only place in the city free from the endless talk of taxation. Today, the worshippers in the temple are few, all of them poor people from nearby districts. Some thank the twins for the peace they have brought to the world. Some beg for a sign from above. One little boy is on his knees praying for prosperity. He has yet to learn that it is an error to rely on the twins' aid even as you pray, for they are not our servants, but the rulers of this world. You approach the altar, bow your head, and whisper a prayer for unity in the Brante home. O Elder, the spirit of truth and love, I thank thee for my family. Aid them and let them abide in peace and tolerance. Though our woes may hide the gift of thy love, may we never refuse thy bounty. To your sorrow, the strife in your family home has proven to be far worse than you had expected from the letters. You never thought the quarrel between Gloria and Stefan would go this far. The temple gradually fills with people as noon approaches. Midday is the hour of the sermon. A priest steps up on the altar, leaning on a staff. The trim on his white cassock is embroidered with gold. He bears a book at his side entitled Lives of the Twins. It is rarely quoted even among religious scholars. Most of the faithful rely on the teachings of Isatias. You recognize this man from the sacred conclave, Abbot Lennart. Brothers and sisters, today I shall speak of the new faith, of its nature and its meaning. Many among you already know it in your hearts, but now I seek to find the words to help you understand it with your minds, for our hearts and minds alike forever seek the path of the twins. We have all known the doctrines of the old belief and the teachings of Isatias since childhood. Prophet Isatias wrote that the twins granted us 3 lots to govern us, and 3 lots there are, one for each estate of the empire, nobles, commoners, and priests. And so, more than 1,000 years, we have lived by these lots, and by the teachings of Isatias. For it is said that as you follow your lot, you are brought closer to the twins, and after the true death that awaits us all at the end of the path, we shall be brought to the peak of the shining pillar. But now I implore you to look at the blessed Archnian Empire. What was it like during the time of Isatias, and what is it like now? Nowadays, no commoner may live by the sweat of his brow alone. In his home and in his trade, even a commoner must lead and rule. And what of the nobles? Their lot commands them to fight, but where will they fight if the blessed Archnian Empire now extends from sea to shining sea, when all her enemies are gone? The lots of Isatias were once our path to the twins, but now they have become our shackles. Can you reach the peak if you walk a path that is impassable? The law that Isatias gave cannot say. The old belief has no more answers for us, only questions. I have been a priest for over 30 years, and every day I have considered this question and found no answers. That is, until our mentor Photis appeared. Photus said, "He who breaks beneath the burden of his lot shall be guilty of the worst sin of all, the sin of rejecting the twins. Is this how we are to reach the peak of the pillar? Is this what the twins want from us?" And Photus said, "If the empire in which we live has changed over time, should not the faith change along with it?" And the new faith says, "Do not confuse your worldly life and the estate into which you are born with your spiritual life, where each of us must find the twins on his own, and so may every part and every person find his own lot, his own path to the twins. If a noble must suffer in order to purify his heart and fill it with the love of the twins, then such is his path. And if a commoner enjoys the fruits of her labour and thanks the twins for their gifts, then let this be her path to the top of the shining pillar. The priest's calling is to offer guidance so that each of us can find his way to the twins, to their law, will, and love, and thus to bliss in the hereafter. Many servants of the church still persevere in their rejection of the new faith. They find it difficult to reject what they have long considered to be the unshakable foundation of all existence. They find it difficult to face the truth. Let us pray to the twins that the guiding light of the new faith will find them as well. Most people in the temple kneel and bend their heads in silent prayer. The abbot prays along with them. Some, however, remain on their feet. These people shake their heads with expressions of distrust and disapproval. The sermon ends. You feel it is time for you to leave, but then you notice the abbot motioning for you to stay. He walks up to you with a smile, as if seeing an old friend. He gestures for you to sit on a pew. Inquisitor Jordan, we have not been introduced yet. I am Father Leonard, but you probably know that by now. How do I know you? Why, it's no miracle. A good friend of mine, Augustin Elborn, told me about you. He's a friend of your family. Sir Elborn is a long-standing follower of the new faith, and I have taken it upon myself to act as his counsellor in matters of the faith. That is certainly good to know, but what does Abbot Leonard want from you? I am aware that the Inquisition has come to Magla to investigate a report against Patriarch Cassius. I am aware of this because I was the one who wrote the report. You stare at the abbot in surprise. What could possibly have motivated him to do this? You see, the Patriarch and I have known each other for many years. We used to engage in debate quite often on the nature of the twins, on the teachings of Isaetius and Photus, on the paths that serve to guide people to the peak. For all of those years, matters such as these were of great concern to Cassius. He used to remember the purpose of his service at all times. He used to truly care for people, but now something has changed him. And if you remember, we need to have the Inquisition at least 8 strength in order to challenge Cassius. I don't know if we're going to get that, if we're going to be purporting the new faith. As he is now, all Cassius desires is power. His sermons are filled with lies and pretense. He has gained the support of the old believers, and now he accuses us of apostasy and heresy against the twins, but in truth he serves the twins no longer. Our opinions often differed, but my most recent conversation with Cassius left me terrified. I expected him to accuse the new faith once again of straying from the true path to the peak, but the Patriarch suddenly questioned the importance of guiding people to the twins at all. The Patriarch of Magla, of all people, told me this, Jordan. The man who addresses the twins in the name of the entire congregation. The man who must be the embodiment of purity and virtue for his flock. I wrote my report and sent it to the Order immediately after we spoke. I'm glad to see you got here so quickly. But if you ever find the proof of my words, what will you do? What awaits Magla if the Sacred Tribunal of the Inquisition condemns Cassius? You may have noticed the delicate situation in our province by now. Magla is the birthplace of the new faith, and many worshippers have been eager to take the teachings of Photus to heart, and yet the priests in Magla remain deeply bound by the old traditions. Can you imagine the chasm of misunderstanding that now separates the clergy from their flock? And yet, should Patriarch Cassius be cast out of the faith, the conclave will most likely elect another ardent old believer in his place. The gulf between the clergy and the fold, the old faith and the present day, it'll only grow deeper. It is my opinion, however, that there is another way out, which is why I must beg you for your aid. Tell me, if you may, what is the foundation of every faith and belief? It's not books or rituals or temples. It's people. Our church has forgotten this. I like this guy. But it is the people who must choose the guide they will follow to the shining pillar. I know you came to Anizot to weed out heretics and apostates, but I'm begging you, please do not judge in haste. The fear of punishment paralyzes those who are on the way to the new faith. Please allow them to seek answers on their own. They might stumble along the way, but this is the price we must pay to blaze our own trail. And when all is said and done, the new faith will be our salvation. For Magra, for the Empire, and for every person who lives within it. So we can't point out the flaws of the new faith, which is fine, because I'm not a shield of the old faith, and that's grand. And that's also fine, because that would give us Theology 1 and Eloquence 1, where we're already max. We could refuse Father Leonard, where we go down, or we can help him. We are going to help him. We agree to help the new believers. For we believe in the new faith as well. There is a fundamental flaw with the lots, and we learned that when our grandfather was able to burn us all. You see a kernel of truth in Father Leonard's words. If you grant people the opportunity to seek the peak of the pillar on their own, they will be able to form a new church and find new faith in the twins. And this new faith will not be imposed upon them, but will come from their own hearts. You promise to show mercy to those who seek their own path to the elder and the younger. You promise to help the new faith grow stronger and find answers where the old faith could not. When it comes to electing a new patriarch, it must be done by the people and not the clergy, who are entrenched in antiquity and antiquated, outdated tradition. Father Leonard smiles and offers you his hand. Thank you, brother. May the truth reveal itself to you. May it fill you. And that's nice. He's gone 4 now. A promise has been made. You promise the abbot that you would defend the new faith. You look at him intently. After a long pause, you tell him that the truth is to follow the path of the twins with a pure purpose and an open heart. They need nothing more, and neither do you. That's nice. He's almost maxed him out. It's interesting though, you can see we've had many opportunities to increase theology and eloquence, and we're already max. So in some ways it's kind of a waste that we didn't pursue other skills. So it's a good reminder for your own playthrough, or for my next playthrough, that you will have opportunities to do that. And we have nowhere been challenged for a very high theology. We've had, I think, 10 and 11 skill checks. I promise to Leonard, year 1139, you promise the abbot to defend the teachings of the new faith. I wonder what sort of trouble that's going to get us into. The call of the ancestors. We're actually really catching up with our noble playthrough. Although I'm not sure how I'm going to upload these videos, whether I'll just blast through the Inquisitor path or space it out. I'll probably space it out actually. But as I play this, I've just completed this with the noble. Today is a big day for the Brante family, the day your family line started, the day when you remember all your ancestors. Tonight, everyone who bears the name Brante must descend into the family crypt to keep vigil by the tombs. This is the first time to surrender yourself to your ancestors and hear their will. The entire family prepares for the event in silence. Stefan has been choosing his apparel since morning, praying anxiously under his breath all the while. The heir has a special place in the family vigil. Even Mother is planning to go with you, though Father tries to talk her out of it. Lydia, I beg of you, stay home. You are far too weak for an all-night vigil in the crypt. Gloria, would you be so kind as to stay with your mother, since you cannot join us anyway? Gloria answers in a muffled voice. As you wish, Sir Brante. Sir Robert, the late Sir Gregor would only be enraged to see Mother there. We all remember how their last encounter ended. Father nods curtly, avoiding Gloria's gaze. But at that moment, your attention is drawn to a noise in the foyer. Nathan staggers through the door, stumbling over his own feet. He reeks of cheap wine and filth. I'm not late, am I? Everyone gazes at him in consternation. Nathan almost falls into Mother's and Gloria's arms. Distressed, they fuss over him. Stefan eyes his youngest brother coldly. I expect nothing more of you, Nathan. Why even speak of duty to your family when you cannot even manage to live by the commoner's lot? Go lie down in the pantry and stay out of sight. Father, Jordan, it's time. Let's go. Alongside Father and Stefan, you descend into the family crypt. You cannot help but remember paying your last respects to your grandfather 9 years ago. You light the lamps. Dim, eerie flames illuminate the shrine. In the middle of it stands a magnificent stone tomb containing the long-decayed remains of Gregor Brante. You take your places around the crypt and kneel. The all-night vigil has begun. At first your ancestors remain silent. Each of you is left with your own thoughts. Then a low murmur passes around you. The shadows in the corner of the room deepen. The voices grow stronger. You know that the ancestors of Gregor Brante, long-forgotten commoners whom you never knew, are trying to talk to you. But now a memory of them has come to life in the darkness of the crypt. They are pleading for something, demanding it of you, calling out to you, screaming. Finally, you all hear that painfully familiar, deep, imperious voice echo from the far end of the chamber. It's been a long time since I've seen you all. I hope you bear good tidings. All this time I've been waiting for you to fulfill my mission. Remember, as long as I am in your blood, I will give you no peace. His mission to be ennobled by the sword for the family. I did not have my family ennobled just to see our line cut short. Our blood tide must join the grand flow of the empire, and then each of my descendants will inherit nobility forever and ever. But I do not see any of you before my tomb. Where are you hiding? Where is the head of our family, the man who will speak to me? Where is the man who will heed my will? Father rises from his knees and makes his way toward grandfather's stone tomb, the source of that booming voice, but Stefan suddenly pushes him out of the way. Father takes an indignant step forward, but Stefan firmly bars the way. Stop it, Stefan, you are my heir, but you are not the head of this family. Father, it is not you that Sir Gregor is addressing. Earning the nobility of the sword is my duty to him. He has long forsaken any hope of seeing you achieve it. You must understand I am the one who will fulfill that duty. Stefan does not let Father pass. We can't step forward ourselves, which is good. Father breathes heavily in anger. You can all but feel the frantic beating of both their hearts resonating somewhere within you. Both your father and brother seem to have forgotten that you are here too. Even the restless voices of your ancestors have grown hushed, waiting for the outcome to the confrontation. We're not a noble, so that's why we can't step forward ourselves. That would be interesting. Gregor up, Father and Stefan down. Willpower down, Father up. So we can side with Father, which gives us unity, and willpower will go down. Stefan will go down and Father will go up. We can support Stefan's superiority, which has unity going down, but willpower up and diplomacy up. And Stefan +2. Before I seen the outcomes, I was going to support Stefan again. I did support him in my noble playthrough. And if I had given us reputation, I would have considered it. But I don't need willpower and I don't need diplomacy. But we need unity. I don't want to drop to 4. It is going to sacrifice our relationship with Stefan, which is a real shame. But we need the unity. We're so close now to getting into peace. We're only one away after this. So we're going to side with Father in this one. He is still the head of the family. Although I think Grandfather won't be happy about that. Sorry, Stefan. You block Stefan's way. Your ponderous voice fills the dark crypt. You demand that your brother step back. The head of your family is your father, Robert Brante, and so it will be as long as he lives. Could your brother have forgotten that it is part of the noble lot to acknowledge and honour seniority? Your father is the man who must hear and accept your ancestors' will. Stefan tries to maintain his composure, but even in the dark you can see his face twitch. Brother, you don't understand. I'm not defying Father's seniority, but I'm the man who bears this duty to our grandfather. I cannot remain a mere witness while the future of our blood tide runs through our fingers. We're all working on it, Stefan, believe me. You resolutely push your brother to one side. Whether he wants to or not, he will give way to the head of the family. Father catches his breath and approaches grandfather's tomb. This can't be easy for Father either. So, it is you, Robert. Have you come to disappoint me yet again? Stefan is right. I have not put my hopes in you for quite some time. If anyone will lead the Brante family to glory, it will be my grandson. Excuse me now, I'm making a big effort here as well. Stefan clenches his fists and whispers something to himself. I am doing my utmost, Father. We are closer to becoming nobles of the sword than ever before. The Overseer looks upon us with favour. Just a couple more years and your dream will come true. This must be your dream too, Robert, but you still cater to your foundlings, Lydia and Gloria, risking a permanent blemish upon the Brante name, my name. Dead though I may be, my will lives on, heeded at last. Get rid of that troll of Gloria and devote yourself to your true family, otherwise you will lead our family to shame and ruin. Father hesitates for a moment. No, Father, that is impossible. Even if I must defy your will, I am responsible for Gloria. My honour and my conscience will not allow me to do what you demand. You must accept this or keep on fighting me for all eternity. Oh, it's difficult now trying to decide between reputation and unity. I know I wanted a unity, that's higher for me than reputation, but I didn't realise we could be ennobled by the sword as a priest for our family, so we'll try and do that as we go along. The voice of your deceased ancestor fades away. He seems to have left this realm, but then his voice suddenly booms from the other side of the crypt. Stefan, you are the heir of this family. Your duty by blood is to earn us a place in eternity. Do not take after your spineless father. Do what must be done. Cleanse our family of wickedness. Stefan is shivering. He replies in an unsteady voice. But Gloria, I can't. Stefan checks himself. I will do my duty to my family, Sir Gregor. Whatever the price, I will pay it. Oh dear. This is actually exactly how it turned out in the noble path. I thought it might turn out differently, but I guess it doesn't. The crypt is completely silent once more. You are alone again. You see tears glistening on Stefan's face. Without uttering a word, he goes outside. Now he's indifferent. Father clasps his arms firmly around you. You feel him let out a sigh of sorrow and relief. The vigil is over. But now he likes a little bit. And our family has gone up in unity, which is good. We're one away from peace. Willpower has gone down, but that's fine. We're still full of power. Whew. I can't even fathom what Stefan is going to do next. I don't even want to think about it. You'll notice in peacetime as well, there's a lot more events between years. We often would have 1 or 2 events between years as a child, but now we've got 4 or 5, which is great. The will and the law. The ward of the Magdalen Inquisition has little space for dungeons in which to detain and question suspects, just a handful of underground cells with tiny windows and heavy doors. You and Jean are standing in one of them, facing a man accused of heresy. 2 days of questioning have yielded nothing. This man was distributing books containing a distorted version of the teachings of Esotius. The teachings themselves were intact, but the books also included comments that openly criticized the foundations of the old faith. To set up a clandestine print shop for such blasphemous books, one needs powerful connections and money. This could be your chance to track down a heretical sect of considerable power. The man is on a rack. Rope is wrapped tightly around his wrists, turning them a deep shade of blue. Jean has treated the prisoner with patience and mercy. She is forbidden the use of torture in an effort to prove to the man that his silence is pointless. Oh dear. You hear footsteps coming down the stairs. Inquisitor Ulrich enters the room. He has refrained from interfering in your investigation for 2 days, but it seems his patience is at an end. You and Jean welcome your mentor. With a curt nod, he walks past you and examines the man upon the rack. Slowly, he shakes his head. I see you are in need of my aid and guidance. Remove him from the rack and put him in a chair. You humbly do as he says, while Ulrich takes great care in selecting the proper tool for what is to come. When the man is finally seated, the Inquisitor steps closer. Jesus. Sharp steel flashes, and the severed tip of the man's pinky falls to the floor. The man lets out a blood-curdling scream. Father Ulrich severs the finger to the knuckle. Well, where is the print shop? The man shrieks and curses at him. Father Ulrich walks around the chair and the prisoner's eyes bulge in terror. The Inquisitor removes the man's ear with a precise cut. The prisoner howls in pain, shivering, convulsing. Blood streams down his neck, forming a dark brown stain on his plain shirt. Jean is stone-faced as she watches it happen. Ulrich is utterly dispassionate, every bit as calm and calculating as before. We made Jean zealous at the old faith. This manner of corporal punishment is an everyday occurrence for him. The Inquisitor continues to torture, repeating the same question over and over again in the same tranquil voice. The prisoner will not stop convulsing, but he says nothing. 10 finger joints now lie scattered around the floor of the room. Streams of blood trickle down the stone slabs. Ulrich reaches for a hammer. Finger bones are brittle. There's a crack, then a scream, then sobbing. The knees are next. The prisoner will not stop screaming. Between the howling and the tears, his lips are unsealed at last. He begs you to stop. He will tell you everything. The print shop is in Sulmina, a small mining town in eastern Magla. The prisoner tells you exactly where it is hidden. Jean writes it down. Father Ulrich walks over to a wash basin. He pours some water on his blood-stained hands, then carefully wipes them dry. He glares at you and Jean. So Sulmina, we can see, is a large and prosperous village in the east of Magla. It has accrued considerable wealth thanks to the numerous silver mines in the nearby hills. Many Sulminan commoners have grown rich and joined a new faith. Never pity a heretic. They deserve neither compassion nor your mercy. Sister Jean, finish him off. A lesser death is a fitting punishment for his crimes. Jesus. Father Ulrich, forgive me for my impudence, but this man's fate must be determined by a tribunal. Sister, I have personally sentenced him to a lesser death for his sins. The tribunal is merely a formality, a senseless waste of time, just like your attempts to convince him to speak. Forgive me, but I refuse. You and I belong to the same lot. You are not a noble. You cannot give me orders. You're far too arrogant for a girl barely out of the seminary. He's absolutely not going to ask me to do it. Father Ulrich's voice rings like hardened steel. Jean meets his gaze defiantly. The prisoner is sobbing quietly, still shackled to the chair. We could kill the prisoner and Father Ulrich goes up, or we support Jean, which gives us valor, but no willpower, but takes away willpower, and Jean likes us again. Killing him just gives us Father Ulrich. I don't care about Father Ulrich, I'm supporting Jean. The man goes for tribunal. Ulrich is a tyrant. After considering the quandary, you say that there is already a proper punishment for every wrongdoing. To carry out a sentence here and now would be murder, and such violence would be in defiance of your priestly lot. Father Ulrich stands erect, his gaze moves from Jean to you. Tell me, is your indecisiveness motivated by fear or pity? I advise you to consider which of these is more ruinous for an inquisitor. Remember this, the rules and the laws of the Order were all written by men. We, however, fight those who seek to undermine the very law of the gods. But have it your way, a tribunal will decide this man's fate. With that, Ulrich turns and leaves the dungeon. You summon the acolytes to take the prisoner back to his cell. When you are done, Jean looks at you with resolve. The younger is the law, the order, and the form. To serve the twins is to obey and protect the law. I'm glad to see you understand that. Two days later, the prisoner is burned at the stake. Father Ulrich insisted that the heretic be sentenced to true death. Jean attempted to appeal the sentence, but the Inquisition tribunal stood with Ulrich. At least she's gone up to 0 now. You watch the execution take place in the yard of the Inquisition ward. The prisoner is howling until under torture seems quiet compared to his screams of agony as he is consumed by the flames. You cannot look away from his burning body. His death comes slowly. Killing him yourself 2 days ago would have been a mercy. How are we to know? We're now a mediocre fighter, which is nice. And our willpower is going down. It's getting to 10, but some actions often cost 10 willpower, so we need to be careful we don't drop too far below that. "22 years of age, 1140. Still quite a long time to go in peacetime. Year 1140, Egmont's speech. Just a few days into the year, Mayor Egmont, chairman of the Lesser Quorum and owner of the several silver mines, made a speech that caused quite a stir in the province. Though a commoner, Egmont had the gall to demand that the Magran authorities both enforce and obey imperial law. What's the use of the imperial laws if they aren't enforced as they should be? Even today, any Anizot nobleman who gets up on the wrong side of the bed can draw his sword and run a commoner through with impunity. These gentlemen may be our rulers, but does that mean they can defy the Emperor's will? Sir Elbone has been appointed to enforce the rule of law in Magla. How come the prefect doesn't see this? We commoners aren't trying to seize the noble lot and take over the province, but the rule of tradition is a thing of the past. This is the age of justice. We may all not be equal in the eyes, but even the nobles and clergy must obey the law. The Magran aristocracy is furious with Egmont and demands that he be silenced, but the rich industrialist has too much money and too many connections to be dealt with so easily. You hear more and more rumours about secret societies of commoners appearing in the city, plotting against noble rule. The gentry fears that Egmont and his peers might be behind this, but they have no proof, at least for now. Father Leonard, abbot of the Temple of the Silver Tree and leader of the New Believers, supports Egmont and has spoken publicly in his favour. The twins themselves entrusted the noble estate with the right to rule over the common folk, but rulers must also care for their subjects. The old faith is mistaken. No commoner should ever be forced to suffer. It is for this very reason that the imperial law exists. It is there to ease the people's suffering. May those laws be duly enforced, and may they serve all the people of the empire. Our wealth has gone down. Discontent has also gone down. We're getting closer to unrest. And the struggle for power between the nobles and the commoners is at 0 now. It might not be long before the commoners get into power. I don't think we're going to get either of these because that's 10. I don't want the new believers to be zealots burning everybody. I don't want him in power either. Cassius overthrown requires us between 7 and 8, so we might get that. We'll see. I don't think we're not gonna get that because we're not supporting Ulrich. Okay, so he can face the Holy Tribunal. This seems what we need to be aiming for, because this is the new faith getting rid of him, which is what we want. We don't want to, we're avoiding true death as best we can. And we've got a few more things to be dealing with as well. Family could end up in ruins. Tomas can have a new life. And we have a glorious bloodline. Oh, it's getting tenser and tenser. The printed page. The first days of spring. It is early morning. The carriage bounces over a pothole on the road, jolting you awake. The village of Sulmina is already on the horizon. You are close now. So we're being sent to deal with a sect of the new faith, but we're supporting a new faith, so we'll see how that plays out. You travel alone, escorted only by David Agaronim and his champions of faith. Father Ulrich was so intent on denying Jean the chance to investigate the print shop that he called for an Inquisition tribunal meeting for this very purpose. Your mentor thought you better prepared for the journey to Sulmina, and the other Inquisitors stood by him. Furious as she was, Jean had no choice but to accept the tribunal's decision. She saw you off before your departure, not one for affectionate farewells, so she gave you a stern admonition instead. Remember, only the clergy may preach and interpret the word of Isatias. Such is our lot and the burden of the priestly estate. We are the ones who are educated and trained to guide laymen to the righteous path. A commoner or noble who expostulates on the twins is thus guilty of denying or defying their lot, and shall suffer at the foot of the shining pillar for all eternity. The books from this accursed print shop pose a grave danger to every member of the noble and common estates. I'm counting on you, Jordan. Make those apostates pay for what they have done. That's really difficult to do because... oh, actually no, we just need tolerance of the fates to overthrow him. Okay, that's important to know. So Inquisition power doesn't matter. The carriage shakes as it rolls down the bumpy Maglan High Road. You pass the time before your arrival by flipping through the pages of the book that started this investigation. It is a paper-bound tome, and so unusually light. You look through the familiar lines, the teachings of Isatias. In this section, the prophet outlines his thoughts on understanding the lots. And so the twins did descend upon the land, clad in flesh. They walked their path among the living and brought their word. Blessed was the Arcanian race to carry their rule throughout the land, transforming the land to suit their own design, for this design was pleasing to the twins, and so the twins did anoint the bloodline of the Tempest to rule over a worldly kingdom. Such was their will and love and law. And so the blessed the Arcanian Empire came to be, and so the law of the land became intertwined with the law of the heavens. And thus spake the elder, he who lives a righteous life shall know eternal bliss upon the peak of the shining pillar. And thus spake the younger, he who defies the law in life shall find eternal torment at the foot of the shining pillar. What is a righteous life? The elder would not say. What is defying the law? The younger would not say. But there was no malice in this, nor was there any secret. The twins named the blessed Arcanian Empire their worldly kingdom, and thus, for all eternity, the shape and form of the empire shall be pleasing to them, and the laws of the empire shall be the law as given to us by the twins. Thus do we all serve the empire, and thus do we fulfill their law. The nobleman serves with the sword and rules over the estates, for such is his noble lot. The commoner labours for the good of the empire. Your eyes shift to the notes appended to these lines. The author is unknown. Prophet Isatias, being the first disciple of the elder, addressed by the twins by their side. What is your will? He asked. How does one live a righteous life in keeping with your law? He was granted a revelation and given a reply. There can be no doubt that this is the truth, just as there can be no doubt that the doctrines that have guided the people of the blessed Arcanian Empire to the peak for more than 1,000 years. But this answer was given to the prophet in a time when the world was unlike the world of the present. The Arcanian Empire was surrounded by enemies on all sides, and many lesser races and civilizations lived among us. Powerful sorcerers fought to resist the will of the true gods, and priests of false gods were corrupting the people's souls with their profane rites. This was an age when the Arcanian Empire had no nobles of the mantle, nor any nobles of the human race, nor did it have any commoners to toil and labour and be ruled over for the good of the Empire. The Empire has changed drastically since the time when Prophet Isatias was given his answer. The Empire, its form and its laws have all changed. And so our path of service to the Empire and the Twins must change as well. We must cast away the old answers. We must forget Ezetius and the lots. The carriage comes to a halt. It is time to put the book away. You've reached the village. The locals are ready for your arrival. There are no women or children outside, only men. They casually lean on pitchforks and scythes as they just happen to have them on hand. The miners remain close to their pickaxes and sledgehammers. They eye you with suspicion, waiting for you to act. And so you speak to them loudly. There is a print shop in this village. Where is it? The villagers do not answer. They only clutch harder at their mattocks and staves. Some of them ready for rocks, or reach for rocks. Oh dear, we could end up dying here, putting us very close to true death. The peasants surround you on all sides. The champions of faith in turn reach for their swords. Captain Agaronim is ready to give the order to attack at the slightest provocation. But then you spot a figure up on the hill, a man with a staff, dressed in white. It is Father Leonard, abbot of the temple by the silver tree. He waves to you and walks down the hill. The crowd parts before him. Brothers and sisters, have no fear. I am sure our guests from the Order of the Inquisition have come here with no ill intent. Please, good Inquisitors, leave these people be. They were just trying to protect me. They didn't realize that the Twins' protection is the only shield I need. Come with me, my friends. I will show you what you seek. He guides you to a large house up on the hill. Inside are several printing presses. Young people dressed in the white are tending to them, printing new pages, sorting them, and binding them into books. The print shop workers freeze in fear when they notice your black cassock and the silver seal on your side. Do you see this, dear brother? These are all books that teach the new faith. There is neither heresy nor apostasy here. This is education, and the Patriarch of Margla has approved it. Leonard produces a scroll and shows it to you. I, Cassius, Patriarch of Margla, hereby grant Father Leonard, abbot of the Temple of the Silver Tree, permission to study and annotate the teachings of the great prophet Ezetius, for it is within that the lot of the priest to study the Twins and interpret their will. Please understand this, brother. It is true that any layman may seek guidance from a priest, but no priest can guide every decision a person makes, for we all are endowed with free will. If the people learn more about the Twins, it will be easier for them to follow their will on their own, and chart their own path to the peak of the shining pillar. Enough of this heresy. Only priests have the right to interpret the faith, so said Ezetius. This is your priestly lot, your duty and your burden to bear. But you new believers now seek to compel laymen to shoulder this burden. They have been explicitly forbidden to bear it. You're just leading people straight to torment at the foot of the pillar, and you're saying this is how it was all supposed to be. Please do not be so quick to blame me and our doctrine. What you have just said is also an interpretation of the lots, Captain, even though you claim it is not your burden to bear. But I don't judge you at all. For anyone who seeks their love, it is only natural to seek an understanding of their law. Makes a good point. The teachings of Photis are not forbidden. The new faith is not a heresy, but a path to salvation. We will continue to preach our doctrine and look for other parts of the peak that have been rejected by the old faith. It saddens me to see that our teachings are still met with such fierce resistance from the clergy, even here in Margla, the birthplace of the new faith. Even when the patriarchs of Archnia and Astinia have acknowledged the truth of the new faith and preach its doctrines themselves. It's a fair point. The new faith isn't a heresy. Remember the trial of Diamant. Captain Agaronim's brow furrows. He looks at you. It is your lot to judge matters of the faith. You must be the one to decide. So we can redact and censor the books. Oh wow. That gives us order, inquisition power, tolerance of faith, and Father Leonard goes up. He likes that. That's quite interesting, and it's fantastic we can do that. That's Theology 15. That's the highest we've had for a skill check so far. We can destroy it, which brings power down, inquisition power up, tolerance down, reputation. They always get you. Reputation up. We leave the books alone, which brings the church up. Inquisition power down, tolerance of the faith up. Father Leonard up. Father Ulrich down, Jean down. Church up. Oh yeah, church up, as in... where is that? Where's the not the church? Oh yeah, sorry, here. Yeah, it brings church closer to the old faith, which is not what we want. I think redacting and centering the books is the best option here. We're getting order, inquisition power, and tolerance of the faiths, and Father Leonard up. I mean, we don't get. I would like to get the reputation, but power down. What's the power mean? Oh yes, the struggle for power. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to redact and censor the books. The books will be published, but only when you are done editing them personally. That's a win-win for all of us, really. Yeah, we only get reputation if we destroy the printing press, and we're not going to do that. So we might as well get inquisition power and tolerance of faiths. You look from Captain Agaronim to Father Leonard and back again. They're both right in their own way. No one must be allowed to revile Prophet Ezatias. Belief in the tenets of the old faith must remain unshaken. However, the new believers must not be prevented from finding their own paths to the twins. Between the two extremes they offer, you suggest your own solution, a middle ground. The print shop will remain open. However, the Inquisition will have the right to review and censor everything it prints. The silence that follows is brief. Father Leonard nods and Captain Agaronim shrugs in support. It falls upon you to review their book in detail and purge it of any defamation of Prophet Ezatias, all while keeping the teachings of Patriarch Photis intact. The revision takes many weeks to complete. At last the book is ready to see the light. Father Ulrich wears a dubious expression as he pages through the book. A compromise, the worst choice of all, so much effort wasted on a book that nobody wants to see in its current form. There's one good thing, however, we've asserted our authority and claimed the right to censor sacred texts. Congratulations on that, Brother Jordan, if nothing else. He's affectionate for us, Father Leonard, which is great. That's our mother, I think, and Nathan, who are also maxed out. You cannot help but agree that Father Ulrich's words ring true. Drained and exhausted by such long labour, you return home and succumb to dreamless sleep as soon as you close your eyes. And we've increased order, which is great, so we're almost on peace, which is what we want. The order is strengthening, and we're one away from being an indisputable authority. And surveillance of the faith has also gone up, which is great. We're getting close to power of the new faith. But willpower has gone down, so we're kind of dodgy in that area. We might have to sacrifice in future. So I'm going to leave this video here. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know how you found the decisions went and what you think is going to happen next, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care and have a good day.